Dark Knight, a true Batman story, is the harrowing and eloquent autobiographical tale of Dini's courageous struggle to overcome a truly desperate situation. It is a Batman story like no other, and one that will truly resonate with fans. Yes, folks, I read Dark Knight, a true Batman story, so you know what that means. And now, a conversation piece. This is The Rundown. Welcome everybody to another exciting edition, another episode here of The Rundown, part of a week in Geekdom. I am your host, Giovanni Menendez, and I am proud to be here with you guys, sharing my love over something geeky, and it just so happens to be a very, very personal and just inspiring book that I wanted to share with all of you. And of course, you might have heard about it since it came out recently, I think like a couple weeks ago as of this recording. And of course, I am talking about Dark Knight, a true Batman story right there. Yeah, it's an original graphic novel from Vertigo, and it details the amazingly dark and yet beautiful story of an otherwise ugly incident that would mark and scar someone for life. And of course, I am referring to one of the greatest animation and overall greatest writer of my era of TV watching. And of course, I am talking about the famous Paul Dini. You might have heard of him from Batman the Animated Series, Tiny Toon Adventures, even the Arkham games. So yeah, this is a story, guys, that is of an utmost importance, not just for comic book fans, but for fans of life in general. And I really wanted to take some time out of my busy schedule to talk about it, to go over some things with you guys, and just to, I guess, just muse a little bit about it. The book is written as an autobiographical story from Paul Dini's horrific mugging incident back in the 90s. And you see the story from 2 points. One, of course, is somebody remembering the past of something that really hurt him, and another is the actual tale that he's telling, where he's living through that experience for us to at least try and visualize. And that is very powerful, because after you survive something like that, I take it not a lot of people would want to go and revisit that part again. But they say that if you live through all of that, and if you re-examine yourself and you go back to that point, instead of just hiding it away in a little corner, then you come out of it a stronger, more beautiful person. And I think that's the case here. And it is a really impactful story. I can't lie. I was really itching away to know what happened. I did not know the original story, the real story. I didn't know anything about it except when the news came out, the solicitation for the book. And I started researching into it, and it was really something to hear. Obviously, I've never, up to this day, knock on wood, thank God, I've never experienced something so horrific. But to come away to survive from something like that, I know it leaves obviously physical scars and mental scars, and not just because of the mugging incident, but the book also examines, or Dini tells us of everything that happened before, during, and after. And it's a very interesting process. It's a very interesting story. You see the character of Paul Dini, drawn pretty cool, actually. Eduardo Rizzo from 100 Bullets, he draws the book masterfully. There's a difference when he's telling stories about his childhood, so you get to know Dini a little bit better as a person, and it's very light and it's very beautiful. And then when the more dark and somber parts, of course, that is reflected as well. Same as with the visions that he's having with the characters that he helped shape and mold for animation, for TV viewing audiences all across the world. Who didn't love Batman the Animated Series growing up? I remember watching it, same as everybody else around my age, and even younger and a little bit older, because we do remember it, watching it on TV, and it was such a groundbreaking show that to this day, if you ask me what's the best superhero TV show ever, I will hands down say Batman the Animated Series. It is that amazing, it is that good. And part of it can be attributed. Of course, there's a whole team of writers, but the standout, the one guy that comes to mind if you like animation, if you like writing and all that wonderful stuff, is Paul Dini, because he is such a great guy. Now, the story, there's really not a whole lot to spoil because the story happened. It's a autobiographical story, so I'm not really worried about all of that in this video. But if you want some sort of review, it is written pretty humorously in parts when Dini's recalling to his younger days, when he's having visions of the characters, and by that I mean you can see Batman and Joker, Poison Ivy, Penguin, all these characters that are speaking to him. I thought it was pretty clever how each character represented something of a vice or guilt or an emotion out of the character, in this case Dini himself, and in some shape or form they all represent parts of us in the stuff that we deal with every day and how we go about it. And by that I mean our insecurities, our fears, and all of that. Of course, you could see there's this one scene where Dini's in the hospital getting the surgery that he needed because his face was busted up from that mugging incident. So of course he's afraid. There's a fear in that, and I guess everybody's afraid to go to the doctor. So you see Jonathan Crane, aka Scarecrow, and it's that sort of thing that makes it otherwise it would be a darker experience, but it makes it a little bit humorous to see all these characters interact with him, and not bogging the story down to where you're just like, this is a little bit too dark. And there were some really interesting aspects to the story that I did not know. They are really depressing. You know, here we have a person going through such strong emotions of guilt, of obviously not accepting who he was, the amazing person that he was, and that plays into the whole thing that you put on a mask, you put on a face for people when you're in public, when you're out with friends, and sometimes they do not see the real you, because otherwise you'd be a little bit afraid to show off your emotions and what you're really feeling, or if you're really sad or depressed and just aching for that real human connection. Obviously love comes into the equation, because after a very horrible date night, he experiences a mugging by these two assholes that were never caught, and that is just part of to me, that's the part that relates to the character of Batman, you know, with his origin story, and is just a huge metaphor for the injustice and crimes that go unpunished, that go unresolved. So you're left with anger, frustration, and you don't know what to do, so you delve into your vices, whether it be drugs or pornography or sex or liquor or whatever it may be. People experience that, and I thought the book was fantastic. I've had horrible, shitty days where everything just sucks and you hate the circumstances around you, your life, and all that stuff. But I've always been a very optimistic, a very positive going person, and I've always been aware of that. And I do know that things get better, and I do know that you have to keep going, you have to march on, you gotta do the best you can, because you cannot let these bad events in your life dictate how you are going to live it. And I know I cannot talk from experience, I get that, and that is the part that frustrates me, because I want to impact the world through my optimism, through my sheer joy of geeky things. And I've always said it, if I can make this show a good time for viewers, if this video is like 15 minutes, if those 15 minutes alleviates the sadness and frustration of a viewer, whether it's just one person or two or 5, 10, 20, 1,000, I don't care. I think I've done my job, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, because the story reminded me of that, because I've been in dark situations, at least mentally, where I always remember that I have family members and I have friends that care about me, and I know some people unfortunately do not have the luxury of having that, and that just sucks, and it would frighten me. this book might just be one of the best books of 2016 if you want to count novels, if you want to count graphic novels, hardcovers, books, whatever. It's a fantastic book. The art is stellar. I really liked it, and I just wanted to highlight the awesome cover image, because that basically says it all. It is the character of Batman that comes through, and you are reminded that while superheroes do not exist in real life, it is through the actions and the love and everyday it's the everyday actions and ongoing love that makes us who we are and makes us above a regular person. It makes us really superhuman. If you are in a bad situation, please, you've got to remember there's help. You can always call for help. You can always get better, and you have to get inspired, because it is your life. It is worth living, and you are a very special person. I cannot know you physically. I don't know who's watching, but I know you're watching, and I just wanted to tell you how amazing of a person you are. And if this turns into a weird self-help video or just a motivational thing, I really don't care, because I believe in the power of a message, and the message can be conveyed through fellow geeks, right? Everybody can be a hero if you stand up to what you believe in, if you go forward and you claim your dreams. That, I think, in my opinion, is the most important message here. Of course, you will go through shitty times where the life will beat the living hell out of you. It will drag you down to its knees, but you have to remember that you are worth it, that you are strong, that you are able, and you have to rise up and really just keep going. Like I said, I could have just kept talking about it nonstop, about everything that happens in this book, but I'd rather not. This is a story where you see a little bit of everything, and you see a person, a real human being, going through such traumatic events and how to rise above it, because this is the extremes of the extremes, I guess, compared to what I go through. So it was really inspirational, and I think everybody should give it a read. Fantastic story, and get back to me. Write down below how this book inspired you if you've read it. I'd like to talk about it with you guys. I'd love reading comments down below. As always, you can like and subscribe to our videos here at A Week in Geekdom, and you can follow me on your favorite social media platform, from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Tumblr, and of course Periscope. Just type A Week in Geekdom and I'm there for you guys. Alright, I gotta go. I got a ton of stuff to keep reading and watching and playing and unboxing. So yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next installment. Thank you for tuning in to another installment. You can keep the conversation going through your favorite social media platform. You can like and subscribe to our YouTube page, follow us on Twitter, like our fan page on Facebook, and favorite our pics on Instagram. You can also write to us for feedback, suggestions, and such via aweekingeekdom@gmail.com. Until next time,